Returning now to our coverage of the midterm elections. Both parties have been sifting through the results, trying to see what a Democratic-held House and Senate in Republican hands will mean for the future. We're joined now by two experts, former Republican Congressman Bob Walker and Ann Lewis, who served as White House Communications Director during the Clinton administration. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, Bob, if I could take advantage first of your expertise. You've gone through political transitions before. How are Republicans going to handle this divided government?
Well, divided government is something that we've often had. The American people seem to like divided government. And so when we've had it, we have figured out ways to work through the things that have to be done. And we've also found that many times there are parts of the president's agenda that don't get done in divided government. So my guess is that this will be handled in much the same way it's always been handled.
But is it an opportunity for this president? He was sounding a little bit today like he might be interested in doing something bipartisan.
Well, I think there is. I mean, I think, for instance, on something like infrastructure, there may be a way to move forward on that. There's also been some talk that there's always been a deal to be had on immigration. And the question is whether or not the Congress and the president can come to some agreement that moves on a reform that's badly needed there.
Well, Ann Lewis, what do you think? Do you think Democrats will be interested in getting a joint win on immigration and infrastructure reform, potentially?
Yes, among others. When you look at the Democratic candidates who won, they are very serious about making a difference. Whether you read their ads or listen to their speeches, they talk about how can we make life better for the people we represent. So I look forward to some robust debates. But bottom line, if they can, in fact, act, and infrastructure is a very visible way to do it, makes it easier to get to work and back. Those are the kinds of issues that they want to work on.
Well, and Bob, the markets went up today by 500 points because they're hoping divided government means less uncertainty and maybe progress on infrastructure. But does the president have it in him to deliver?
Well, I think so. And the fact is the markets went up in large part because they know that having retained and actually expanded the Republicans in the Senate, it means that some of the things that would disturb the markets that might happen will be stopped in the Senate and will not, even make it to the president's desk.
Now, of course, Anne, Congress is able now to exercise much more oversight of the president because Democrats have the House, and they're already indicating they're going to do it over Jeff Sessions, who has been fired by the president as Attorney General. But do Democrats have to beware of being too caught up into fighting with the president?
Oh, I don't think so. I think there is a reason why our Constitution calls for 3 branches of government. That's been our balance over the years. So, yes, we should have an independent House that is able to examine, look at, do oversight of the executive branch. It has been a real problem, I believe, for the last couple of years, that we've had a House and Senate that simply did not want to stand up to the president. So, yes, I think we will see oversight. And you know what? Again, it's the way our country was designed. It's the way we've operated for years. It's going to work.
But, Bob, do you feel that the president was maybe a little emboldened to fire Jeff Sessions because he's expanded the majority in the Senate and has more powers there now?
Well, I think the fact is that the Senate will be able to confirm not only presidential appointments to his administration, but also judges. And so there's a lot more operating space now for the Republicans in the Senate than they've had before.
And Anne, when you look at the fact that this was Year of the Woman, it wasn't great for women in the Senate, was it? Democrats lost 2. And the president proved himself an absolutely formidable campaigner, basically inserting senators there by sheer force of will. What does that mean for Democrats in 2020?
Well, you're quite right. Women did much better in the House races. We should not be surprised at that. House races, the district is smaller, cost a little less money, more accessible to outsiders. Many of these women who won and got elected were, in fact, outsiders. But when I look at the number of women that are coming into the House, when I look at their backgrounds, I'm very excited.
It must be sad to lose the women in the Senate, though.
Oh, I am. Heidi Heitkamp is an old friend. We had traveled to Israel together. I'm sorry about Claire McCaskill. But again, those things, you can, as someone said, you can't get everything you want, right?
No.
I'm feeling good enough about the House and the women in the House. When it comes to 2020, I just want to make one more point. When I look at the Midwest, when I look at Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin. Those are the states that were just heartbreaking in 2016. The fact that Democrats are doing so well there gives me a lot
Exactly. But boy, isn't that bad for Republicans, the fact that Democrats have a path in 2020 if they pick up the upper Midwest again?
Well, I think you have to look beyond just the politics of it. For instance, over 25% of the districts that the Republicans lost, many of them in those states and so on, were as a result of retirements, and they were open seats. And so that is not necessarily something that's going to impact the presidential election. And I think you're going to find the president running very strong in the areas where he ran strong in the past.
Congressman Bob Walker and Ann Lewis, thank you so much for giving us the benefit of your collective expertise.
Nice to be with you.
Well, and as we were just saying there, last night there were a series of firsts across the United States, and women led the way with a record number of female candidates elected. Among them were the first Muslim women voted in and the youngest woman ever elected to Congress at just 29 years old. A warning that Neda Tawfiq's report does contain some flash photography.